Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today I'm greatly honored to have Nick Curto and the URANTIA book. Greetings, Nick. How are you?
Never better, Hercules. It's great to be here with you, and I'm looking forward. We have a good program tonight and a wonderful guest.
You always have a wonderful program and wonderful guests, so I'm looking forward to watching the show. I will be here if you need me.
Excellent, excellent. Well, again, this is the Urantia book with Nick Curto. I'm your host. We've been doing this now for, I believe, 4 years, and we've had incredible guests on the program, longtime readers, a few people who were fairly new readers to the Urantia book. The Urantia book is one of the most incredible experiences, I'll say, I've ever had in my life. Many, I would say hundreds of thousands of people who read the book on a regular basis will tell you that worldwide. I believe the Urantia book is now in about 28 world languages, and on the website you can read the entire book, or now with the advent of recording the book, you can listen to the book also. And I know a lot of people, when they're in the car, will listen to the Urantia book. It's an incredible feat that they did that, to read the entire book with very good readers, and I highly recommend it. The Urantia book website, I just want to give you that. I'm going to say it slowly so you get that. So it is www.urantiabook.org. And that is the fellowship website. It's an incredibly well-designed, highly functional website, and you can get much insight about the book. And of course, again, you can listen to it or read it. And it's one of the most amazing, I think, the most amazing books you could ever come across. So tonight, my guest, I am so happy to report, is Bobbie Dreier. And Bobbie is a longtime reader of the book. She's held many responsible positions in the fellowship, and she lives in New Jersey. Bobbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
I've been so looking forward to having you as my guest, and I want to just briefly go into your background and then get into the book itself. So, Bobbie, first question, of course, where were you born?
I was born in Newark, New Jersey, and I've lived in New Jersey all my life.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a brother who's 3 years younger and a sister who's 6 years younger.
Excellent, excellent. And your folks, were they spiritual at all?
My dad was a refugee from the Holocaust, and
Wow,
he was a devout, um, I would say, practicing Jew in Poland, and was subjected to a lot of harassment. He came to this country when he was about 16.
incredible. I'm sure that he has such stories to tell.
Well, he never talked about it until later in his life when he began to become slightly demented, and then the filters went down and he began talking about it a little bit. But it was very difficult. He would describe, he lived in a little village in Poland, and he would describe soldiers coming through on horseback, never knowing if they were Russian, German, or Polish. And they would grab the beards of the Jewish men and cut them off with their swords, and oftentimes they'd cut a part of the chin as well. So that was his memory of his life up until the time he was 16, when he took his mother and they got on a ship. I don't know how they managed it, but they came to the United States.
What a story. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
God bless them. God bless them. What
yeah,
those people went through. I've read about it, of course, and I've seen a few movies. It just seems like the lowest point in our planet was certainly that horrible, horrible time. And the people that survived it, God bless them.
yeah, yeah. No, it was bad.
Yeah, oh my God, absolutely. So just briefly, Bobbie, your education, where did you go to high school? And if you went to college or whatever, let us know that.
Well, I lived in Hackensack, New Jersey. The school I went to was K through 9, and there were very few Jewish people in the school. I think there were three of us, and my father, who had a deep, abiding need for the preservation of the race, I guess I would say, was very concerned that I would meet and marry somebody who wasn't Jewish. So. He moved the family to Teaneck, which had a bigger Jewish population, so that he would feel more secure that I might meet and marry somebody who was Jewish. It was so important to him.
I can understand that. That makes total sense. It does.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, amazing. And may I ask you, your parents, where did they meet? How
Uh,
did they meet?
well, my mother was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, and when my dad came to the United States, his family settled in Newark. So I'm not exactly sure how they met, but yeah, I think they were both in their early 20s when they married.
I've asked my folks, both of my folks have graduated now, as the Urantia book uh, followers say, they graduated, and I love that term. But I asked them so many questions about how they met and their life, and I just suggest to everyone listening that don't miss the opportunity for your grandparents or your parents. Ask them those questions because it's a gold mine of information, and it's a wonderful way. I would say record it on audio or even video so that it will be handed down because those stories are amazing and it's part of your family history. Um, so again, your education then was a high school there in New Jersey, and then do any college?
I graduated at Teaneck High. I actually met my husband in Teaneck High when his family moved to Teaneck.
And,
And
and
then I graduated from the University of Michigan. And Steve, my husband and I were married in August of the year that I graduated.
so you met in school?
I spotted him the day he moved to town, and a voice in my head said, "He's the one, girl. Go get
He's the
him."
one. You went right for it. You went right for the good stuff.
I chased him for 6 years until he married me.
That's a wonderful story.
That's true.
I knew. Luckily, I've known Steve, and I so admire him on so many levels. And when I was brand new to the Urantia movement, I talked to Steve many times, and he was a brilliant, brilliant man, and he really helped me to understand what the Urantia book was about. And I'll always be grateful to Steve Dreier for giving me his time to do that. What an amazing man he was and is.
Yes, yes, true.
Um, all right. So then you met the man of your dreams, and I
And
totally
my dreams.
get that. And I'm sure that you were his
Well,
apple of his eye.
I'm not so sure. I think I dragged him into marriage, but it was a good thing.
Excellent, excellent. My folks met at an Italian celebration where they were singing and opera, and there were people climbing poles, young people to get the prizes at the top. It was in Springfield, Massachusetts, and my mother, who was Irish from Northampton, Massachusetts, which is fairly Irish area there, Irish Catholic, and my father from the Italian section of Springfield, Mass, the North End. And they were both at the celebration, a street celebration. They really do it up proud, and that's where they met. And I love that little story. I can just almost see them meeting for the first time.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so we're so lucky to have amazing parents. We really are. I know people who don't have parents or orphans too. And boy, that's a hard deal too when you're starting off like that. Anyhow, so let's go into the Rancher book now. Tell me about how you discovered the Rancher book, or how the Rancher book discovered you.
Steve was a seeker, a serious truth seeker, and he always wanted to know the truth. Who is God and what's it all about? So we went through many, isms. We tried briefly a little bit of TM, transcendental meditation, and very briefly we had a friend who was deeply into Scientology, so we experienced that a little bit. But he was always looking for the truth, and when he saw the Urantia book and opened it up, he knew almost immediately that this is what he had been looking for. There was, and there was like a palpable change in him. He was always sort of wondering, what's going on, what's it all about. But when he started reading the Urantia book, I kind of saw a peaceful attitude came over him. It was really clear that he knew he had hit on something really important.
So then he said, Bobbie, there's something you need to know, and gave you a copy of the book.
Well, he was reading it all the time, and I got curious. So, yeah,
Good for you. All
yeah,
right.
thank God.
Yeah, absolutely. I was raised Roman Catholic, and my aunt was a nun in the Catholic Church, a sister superior in one of the convents. And at one point, I was thinking of becoming a priest. When I think around 17, 18 years old, that was one of the things on the table to think about doing. But I got very much interested in art and design and theater. And I decided that my talent would go better in that direction. So that's what I did. I headed for that. I was the president of the Newman Club in college, a Massachusetts College of Art and Design in Boston, Mass. And but after, when I came to New York, which was probably a day after graduation, I wanted to experience other cultures, other ways of worshiping God. And boy, New York was the perfect place to do that. And I had friends in various different uh, from Catholic to Jewish to many other forms of spiritual awakening. So all that was going on, and I was in a Unitarian church for 2 years, right in my neighborhood on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And after 2 years of going there every Sunday, and they would read from a lot of different books, 2 years going, and that particular Sunday morning, the minister said, for the last reading, I would like to read to you from the Urantia book. And I thought, Urantia, that might be Eastern Indian or something like that. I never heard of it. What a funny name. And so he read, I think, 3 paragraphs, and I was like a deer in the headlights. What in the world was that? I've never heard anything like it. I wish I could remember now what he had read at the on the altar that morning, that Sunday morning, but it absolutely floored me. And then everyone left the church. The service was over, and I literally stayed in my pew for about 15 minutes because I literally wanted to catch my breath. Like, whoa, that was, I wanted to remember what he was reading. And all the way home, I walked home and I was thinking, Urantia, I want to remember that very funny word. And 2 weeks later, there was a big expo in Midtown, and one of the rooms contained spiritual organizations. And in big letters at the very back of that big room, with maybe 50 tables of various, it said Urantia. And I headed to that sign like a heat-seeking missile. And I met what now has become some of the dearest friends of my life who were working that table. And they said, well, in 5 minutes, we're going to be on the main stage to talk about the Urantia book. Would you like to come and listen to that and then come back to the table because you said you had a lot of questions? So I agreed to do that. And after that 20 minutes of them on the stage talking about it, I was right back to the Rancha table. And I bet I asked them 2,000 questions. I, I really did. And they were amazing. I remember one of the people there said, it would be our honor to try to answer your questions about the Rancha book. I thought that was a wonderful thing to say. And
Yeah,
I felt totally, and Bobby, you can understand this, like I was meeting my family. It
yes.
was it was that wonderful feeling of love and caring and camaraderie, and we're sharing an amazing work. And that never, to this day, that's never faded. That is absolutely part of what the Urantia movement is all about. Now let's talk about the book for a second. Again, it's about 2,000 pages. It's a huge book. And did you start reading the book from the beginning to the end, or did you skip
Oh, have you
around?
showed the book to the people who come to your program?
There you go. Quite the book. Quite
Quite a
something
book.
to carry too.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Wow. So did you start like from the beginning and then go through it like that, or did you skip around?
Well, I went to the marriage and family papers first because that's what I was really interested in. But eventually I read the book from front to back, and you really have to eventually, because the whole first section supports the story of Jesus. You really need the whole background to understand who he was and to make sense of the fact that a divine person came to this earth. The whole story of the cosmos is there in the beginning of the book. So who Jesus was and what his role was before he came to the planet is all explained. And I think it's a lot of the missing information that people don't really have about him.
Oh, absolutely true. And to tell you the truth, the four parts of the Urantia book, and the fourth part, the life and the teachings of Jesus, is my favorite part. I felt as though I wasn't reading about it. I was there. I was seeing and hearing who was around him, what he was teaching, what he was saying. It's that vivid in the Urantia book. It gives you such a dimension of who Jesus and his followers and his family were at the time and the challenges of that society. Never more clearly stated than in the Urantia book. It absolutely floored me as I was going through chapter by chapter. It was amazing, and it still is to this day. It is my favorite part of the book, and I never tire of it. Never.
The story of Jesus is written by what the Urantia book calls a midway creature who is a personality halfway between human and divine, who was attached to the apostle Andrew, I think. So it claims to be written by someone who was there and is actually reporting the story as it happened. That's how it feels, and I'm sure that that's true. I mean, that's how I take it.
I tell some friends when I'm trying to describe it that, and I did study the Bible, of course, when I was younger, and I went to the Catholic the teachings, and I tell people that it was a good experience, but it seemed now like it was a black and white silent movie. And the Urantia book, with its scope, seems like a three-dimensional, full-color cinemascope of that time and the lives of those people because it's so dimensional and on such a deep, detailed level. And it's brilliant. It absolutely is. It floors people when they encounter, even if they've read the Bible and they know it well, when they come on to the Urantia book, wow, it's like a whole other dimension. What do you say?
Well, it fills in a lot of the missing pieces for sure. And to me, I was thinking about it. It's like a love letter from God. It's like this is the way it really was, and we'd like you to know that. That's how it feels to me. It just fills in all the missing pieces and clarifies so many questions like the sons of Adam and Eve, where'd they get their wives from? You know.
Right, right, right. All those
All
questions that
all
you
all
always
the questions that anyone ever had about Bible stories or whatever your understanding of how it all began, your questions are all answered.
unbelievably so. And that is just, you never get tired of that because it really gets into detailing more than any other work ever. And it's a wonderful way to learn too. It's written in a way that you can learn all the details step by step. It's a beautifully written book too. I've never seen anything quite like it. It's cutting edge.
Yeah.
And that again, the fourth section of the life and teachings of Jesus is amazing, and it really brings it home. It totally does. Um, was there a particular section of the fourth part of the book dealing with the life and teachings of Jesus that especially rang hard, big bells for you? Something that you were a section perhaps that you really totally love?
Well, it's hard to really isolate anything in particular, but I was thinking about it because you asked me. Um, I like the story. I mean, I love all of it, but I like the story of Anaxand, who was a young man who was working on a boat that I don't know whether Jesus was working on the boat, but they came in contact with each other, and he was complaining really to Jesus about his boss, how mean he was, and if God loved him so much, why did he give him a nasty boss? And I love Jesus's response to him, which was, you know, if you know better than he does, then it's your obligation to show him the better way. You wouldn't stand by and see someone drowning and not go and save him. And how much greater it is to save someone's soul than his body. So he puts the obligation really of bringing God to people on us. You can't complain about what's wrong. You have to show the better way. Or it's not you have to. I mean, you want to once you understand, once you've seen the way he lived his life and you're inspired by it, then it becomes really, I don't know, the way you want to live.
It's the if there's ever a role model, that's him. Because the way he conducted his life, the way he met all the challenges, and there were beyond reason so many challenges through this whole life, and he met every single one of them, and did it with love and with purpose, and it just comes across. And again, the Rancher book, uh, to me, it's like a book of love because it's so nurturing. It is filled with promise, and the best is yet to come. And you have to understand what is out there and who is out there and how they care about you. And it really brings all that home. Every time, every single time. It's fresh every time you read it, and there's so many details. You're thinking, I never remember that particular part of that story. It's incredible. It keeps on going on and on. Um,
No, I'm glad you said that it's a love story, really, and God is love. But it's interesting. At the beginning of the book, the author, I think it's a divine counselor, says at times I'm almost pained to be compelled to portray the divine affection of the Heavenly Father for his universe children by the employment of the human word symbol love. This term, even though it does connote man's highest concept of the mortal relations of respect and devotion, is so frequently designative of so much of human relationship that is wholly ignoble and utterly unfit to be known by any word, which is also used to indicate the matchless affection of the living God for his universe creatures. The word love has been so abused, really. I love spaghetti. I love spinach. How can you say I love God in the same sentence? You know, I think the authors of the URANTIA book have difficulty. They have said so in some instances to express the reality of God's love for us with the language of our realm that they have to use. And that's one of the words that they feel has been abused and can't really describe what the Father's love is like.
I totally agree with that. Absolutely. And you feel that every single page is really giving you so much wonderful information, cutting edge information that's not anywhere else. And I know people who've been to Israel and they've been on a group of Urantia book readers, and they're in a particular area where Jesus taught, or there were other things going on, according to the Urantia book, but the tourist buses are zooming past it because they don't know what happened in that particular spot. And I was talking to a couple of people that said it's amazing that what is really there that is described in detail in the Rancher book that is not known for most people who don't know some of the things that went on. And you can go there, and with the Rancher book or a guide, you can be at those particular places and take it in. I want to do that sometime. Bobbie, have you ever been to the Holy Land?
Yes, yeah, Leela and I planned a trip many, many years ago, and a busload of us went, and we tried to, go the places that are described in the Urantia book, follow Jesus's path through Jerusalem and Israel.
Who led, if I may ask, who led
Well,
the
we planned it actually. We were all Urantia book readers, and we planned where we would like to go together, and then we directed the bus driver. We told him where we wanted to go. We had a wonderful group of Urantia book readers, a busload of us.
Oh, I wish I could have been there. That
Yeah,
sounds amazing. What an experience.
it was amazing. It really was amazing. Yeah.
It
And
was.
each of us had an assignment, to go into depth about one of the places that we would visit. So it was a really special trip.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. That's one of my goals in the next part of my life is at some point to do that. I'm friends with Diane Lebrecq,
Hmm.
and she from Canada, and she has led some of those groups, and um, I admire her so much, and she knows the Urantia book forward and backwards, and I'm hoping at some point I can do a trip with her as the guide. I just think that would be a wonderful way to go.
Be great. Yeah.
It would be. Mel Gibson at one point did the story of Jesus, and a part of it was the crucifixion. And as much as I admire Mel Gibson's detailing, because he really gets into it and tries to do it as genuinely as possible, um, because that particular film had the crucifixion of Jesus, I couldn't go. I just, when you love someone that much, I couldn't do it. I never could go to that movie. And I understand that he's now finishing a second movie that will be a different part of the life of Jesus. And I'm looking forward to seeing that part,
Uh-huh.
you
Yeah.
know. Let me see. I wanted to ask you also, I know that there's been some surprises as I've gone through the Urantia book, and one of them was, of course, here we are, America, uh, and in my case, the Catholic version of Jesus' life, and so celebrating his birthday and on December 25th. And I was shocked when I found out from the Urantia book that that wasn't Jesus' birthday, and they get very clear about when Jesus was born, which turns out to be, as you well know, um, uh, August 21 at, I believe, 12 noon. Isn't that correct?
I don't remember the hour, but certainly August 21st is the date they give. It's interesting. There are facts that differ from biblical understanding, but I think of more interest are the meanings and the values that we get from the Urantia book, rather than the facts are interesting, but watching the way Jesus was with people, you know, not even so much what he said, just the way he was. If there was a child around and he was in the midst of a deep philosophic or religious or spiritual discussion with a group of people, he would always stop for a child. And it was because he really was filled with love. He cared about people more than anything, really. And what he really, really wanted people to know was that God was a loving father. And of course, he knew whereof he spoke. and that we were God's beloved children. And the gospel basically is that, you know, God is your father and you are his children, and he loves you, and all he wants is that you should love each other the way he loves you. So, you know, the words don't mean anything. It's only in the experience that you can really know what that means.
You're absolutely zeroing in on it, and it's so profound. And when you take it page by page and understand who he was and how he behaved, like you're saying, it's just the guide. It's the guide we all should follow of how to behave and how to think for our fellow beings, not only on this planet but other planets too. And they go into that. One of the chapters, I've a long time been a real advocate for deep research for UFO and ET research, and of course that's a very hot topic right now, never more so than right now, with the government and the other governments also talking about releasing disclosure information. And so that right now, and it's going to get, I think, a lot more heated. The government has talked about in June, no, May, the beginning of May, of doing some major disclosures. So looking forward to that. And one of the chapters of the Rancher book deals with the government of another planet. I was absolutely stunned when I came across that particular chapter. And one of the things that to take home, again, it absolutely affected me, and I'm sure everybody who reads it would be affected too. It said that in our planet and in our government, the highest crime, the worst crime you can commit is betrayal of public trust. That just hit me so hard. Betrayal of public trust is the worst crime you could do on that particular planet, and that's really something to take home.
It is. It is. It's interesting, you know, different things obviously appeal to different people. To me, I think the idea of the possibility of being transformed by the Spirit was something that really struck me. And I pray to be transformed by the Spirit. There's a passage that maybe you'd like me to read
Uh,
a passage.
Please, that would be wonderful, Bobbie. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
This is from the lesson on self-mastery. At one of the evening conferences, Andrew asked Jesus, Master, are we to practice self-denial as John taught us, or are we to strive for the self-control of your teaching? Wherein does your teaching differ from that of John? And Jesus answered, John indeed taught you the way of righteousness in accordance with the light and laws of his fathers. And that was the religion of self-examination and self-denial. But I come with a new message of self-forgetfulness and self-control. I show you the way of life as revealed to me by my Father in heaven. Verily, verily, I say to you, he who rules his own self is greater than he who captures a city. Self-mastery is the measure of man's moral nature and the indicator of his spiritual development. In the old order, you fasted and prayed. As the new creature of the rebirth of the Spirit, you are taught to believe and rejoice. In the Father's kingdom, you are to become new creatures. Old things are to pass away. Behold, I show you how all things are to become new. And this is the crux of it here. And by your love for one another, you are to convince the world that you have passed from bondage to liberty, from death into life everlasting. By the old way, you seek to suppress, obey, and conform to the rules of living. by the new way, you are first transformed by the Spirit of truth and thereby strengthened in your inner soul by the constant spiritual renewing of your mind. And so are you endowed with the power of the certain and joyous performance of the gracious, acceptable, and perfect will of God. Forget not, it is your personal faith in the exceedingly great and precious promises of God that ensures your becoming partakers of the divine nature. Thus, by your faith and the Spirit's transformation, you will become in reality the temples of God, and his Spirit actually dwells within you. If then the Spirit dwells within you, you are no longer bond slaves of the flesh, but free and liberated sons of the Spirit. The new law of the Spirit endows you with the liberty of self-mastery in place of the old law of the fear of self-bondage and the slavery of self-denial.
Wow.
Wow.
Right. It gives you goosebumps. It just does. Every passage does that. It elevates you. It gives you more knowledge. And that's through the whole book. What an incredible work the Urantia book turns out to be. One thing too that really, in a very personal way, early in my life, I had friends my own age, and because of cancer and because of AIDS at the time, I lost uh, some of my dearest and closest friends. And it was a very difficult time to try to deal with that on any level at all. And this was the time also when the Urantia book came into my life. And it talks about where we are on this planet is on a spiritual level and what unfolds when the Urantia book group calls it graduate, I love that, or pass on to the next level. And it gets in very detailed accounting of that. And that was it still is very, very important to me to have a knowledge of what's ahead.
Yes. Yeah. No, I know. I lost Steve to COVID over 5 years ago, and I am just so encouraged by the knowledge, the faith that I'll see him again, you know. I have no doubt about it.
I feel the same way about my parents, who I loved dearly, and my dear friends who were like a second family to me. And I do feel the same way.
Yeah.
And it's thanks to the Urantia book for filling in that gap of knowledge of what's ahead. And I do recommend that if people are struggling with loss, the Urantia book, I highly recommend take a look at what the Urantia book is saying in detail because it will really help you to get through a difficult time.
Yeah, there's another little piece here that might be helpful. When you
Please.
know that you are saved by faith, you have real peace with God. And all who follow in the way of this heavenly peace are destined to be sanctified to the eternal service of the everlasting sons of the eternal God. Henceforth, it is not a duty, but rather your exalted privilege to cleanse yourself from all evils of mind and body while you seek for perfection in the love of God. Your sonship is grounded in faith, and you are to remain unmoved by fear. Your joy is born of trust in the divine word, and you shall not therefore be led to doubt the reality of the Father's love and mercy. It is the very goodness of God that lead men into true and genuine repentance. Your secret of the mastery of self is bound up with your faith in the indwelling spirit. We haven't talked about that, but the Urantia book tells us that God has placed a fragment of himself within each of us, and it is there, the presence of God is within, to follow as we will, his will. It's our choice, but it's there, the perfect guide within. Your secret of the mastery of faith is bound up with your faith in the indwelling spirit, which ever works by love. Even this faith you have not of yourselves. It is also the gift of God. And if you are the children of this living faith, you are no longer the bondslaves of self, but rather the triumphant masters of yourselves, the liberated sons of God. If then, my children, you are born of the Spirit, you are forever delivered from the self-conscious bondage of a life of self-denial and watch care over the desires of the flesh, and you are translated into the joyous kingdom of the Spirit, whence you spontaneously show forth the fruits of the Spirit in your daily lives. And the fruits of the Spirit are the essence of the highest type of enjoyable and ennobling self-control, even the heights of terrestrial mortal attainment, true self-mastery.
Again, wow, it just doesn't get
Transformation
better.
by the Spirit. That's it. That's what we pray for. Be transformed by the Spirit. It's not something you do, it's something you become because you want it.
Yes, no, that's absolutely true. Um, the Rancher book talks about the about angels and about the various divisions of angels, which I never really knew before, that there's different groups that have very different functions. Did you want to speak on that?
Well, my experience lately, I've been having some memory problems, and my experience lately is whenever I'm in trouble, someone comes around and helps me. And I think these are angels in disguise. I really do. I can share an experience with you that was just amazing.
Oh, please do.
The last time I was at a conference, I was coming home and my plane was canceled, and I've been having some memory problems and some confusion. And I wound up in line to wait to get another ticket because the plane had been canceled. And the woman in front of me had some children with her. And while we were waiting on the line to see an agent, she was on the phone with United talking to an agent. And she was going back to Newark Airport as well. And she was on the phone for about 15 minutes with this agent to get a plane for her and her three kids. And uh, we had been talking, and she knew that I was going back to Newark as well. And when she had the whole thing figured out and got a confirmation for a flight, meanwhile, we're at the back of the line. People are trying to get to an agent at the front. She says, and my sister's with me, and I want a seat for her as well. And she turns to me and says, what's your name?
Oh, they love that story.
And that's my experience, really.
Oh, that's a great story. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The Urantia book, of course, talks about the fact that uh, we are brothers and sisters. We're the family here, and we need to act with love, just because it's the right thing to do, and to be there for each other. And Bobbie, I don't know if this has happened to you, but it's never more so than me that a lot of times I'm with someone or somebody is passing by me, perhaps, and I pick up vibes, if you want to call it vibes, of people that are loving and just truly wonderful, and people that are really, shall we say, very off and sad, and also sometimes hateful. And it's just something that it's almost like a wave. And I do pick things like that up. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I have a sense of people. I do. But I think, generally if you're with someone that and you're feeling truly joyful and you are, you can influence people by your attitude. And I like people. I live alone and I don't like being alone. So, I either invite somebody here for dinner or, friends invite me. I think being alone is not a natural state. I mean, even the father, when he was alone, arranged it so that he had partners with him. I don't think God liked being alone. First of all, if you're alone, you can't love, right? You
Well,
need to
that's
have
interesting.
someone to
Yeah,
love.
you're right. I never thought of that, but it's true.
Yeah.
No, I love people. My parents were definitely, uh, for their whole lives, they both came from seven brothers and sisters. So my aunts, my uncles, and my cousins are like forever. And I always, with them, always love having people around me and celebrating their lives. And that's just part of me. It's just part of my nature. And of course, Jesus, like you were saying, welcomed everyone in his life and had a special place for children too, when he came across children or people who had major problems. He didn't pass them by. He dealt with them. He spoke to them and with a loving heart, and they responded back, and that works for us here now in 2026. Nothing's changed like that. You can really be the person that helps someone through a very difficult time, and that is the work of that we should be doing. That's what Jesus did, and that's what we all should be doing, helping each other. And that goes for countries too. Can you imagine if all the countries of the world shared that to build and to embrace other cultures, other which are so rich on this planet, and understand that diversity is a strong point, and we need to celebrate our heritages, and that is never more stronger in my life than right now. I really feel that deeply, and I try to do things that will help that situation.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
easy to love people who are lovable, but I think we're charged really to love those who are unlovable because they're hurting and they're the ones who really need uh, to know of the love of God in their lives. I mean, the ideal is that we are so imbued with God's love that our light shine and people are attracted to us. It's not always that way, but I think that's the ideal that and the way to get there in my experience is prayer and worship and more and more prayer and worship, I think.
Absolutely. It's part of who we are and what we're about, and reflecting that love that Jesus shared with his people, and to reflect that in our own lives. That's got to be part of the answer, not only personally but worldwide.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Bobbie, I cannot thank you enough. It's been such a wonderful experience to have you on my program, and I've been wanting to have you for a while, and this is quite an occasion, and I just want to thank you so much.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you, Nick, and I was very nervous about being on camera. I didn't realize, how self-conscious I really am, but I guess it was okay.
It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I want to go one more time that if a person would like to know more about the Urantia book, and I hope you will, the website that I recommend is www.urantia book.org. It's beautifully designed. The Urantia book in its entirety is in it for you to read. And also you can listen now, not only in English, but I believe in 28 world languages. That's an incredible part of what the community has done to bring the Urantia book teachings to the public. And it's all there for you. And you will find an enriched life by taking part in that. Also, just to know that there's many worldwide study groups, and on that website you can find out if there's a study group studying the Urantia book near you. Also, a lot of these groups now are on the internet, so you can join on a Zoom teaching of the Urantia book. So all that is in that website. Again, so for what it's worth, just thank you so much for viewing the program, and uh, take a look at the riches and the love that is in this incredible book. This is Nick Curto for the Urantia book. Much love to you all everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Good night.
Good night.
And thank you both for a wonderful show. And I wish you both the best. And to all those listening in, joyous journeys and amazing adventures. Good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night. Much love.